Now we're rolling. Well, good evening, everyone. It is Monday, March 25th, 2024, 6:31. Getting started with our committee of the whole meeting. I'm going to turn over. We have a presentation from the Kent County Drain Commission to discuss Walker Drain number 4 and proposed maintenance. So we'll go ahead and start with that. Mr. Yonker, you have the floor.
Thank you. I am Kinney, the Kent County Drain Commission.
Ken, will you make sure that I think that is on?
There, now it's on.
Perfect, thank you.
It's the first time no one heard me.
All the friends out in
Otherwise, I
TV
hear
land
the
want to,
opposite.
exactly.
I'm Ken Yonker, the Kent County Drain Commissioner, and we're just getting ready now to get this project up and going. It's been bid. Bids have been accepted. Comp of cost has been established. Bonding is in the process of being worked out. In the next couple days, the letters will go out notifying all the property owners that will have an assessment on this project and what their assessment will be. So that's when things will start getting interesting. So I want to kind of update the board so you're very aware of what this project is. Next slide, please. Thank you. This drain was established back in 1876. We had several petition jobs on this drain over the years, 1907, 1941, 1947, and 1975. We've had recent maintenance projects 3 times in 2017, 19, and 20. And those projects were all started by complaints of residents. And when we went in to do the maintenance on this drain, it was probably 30 to 40 years since that drain's been maintained. We had trees that were 4 foot diameter growing right up the middle of the drain. So it has been neglected for a long time. The board, and then in January 27 of 2022, we had a petition by property owners along Wilson. And we had a public board meeting. I call that the Board of Determination, which all the circumstances around the condition of that drain are presented at that night. And that's where the public can put in their input. And then there's a 3-panel board of unconnected property owners from other parts of the county that sit on that board. And they determined that this project was indeed necessary. So then they give it to me to carry it out. And that's where we're at now. The engineers that we worked with is Vriesman and Korhorn. They did all the engineering on this project and the modeling. And we had a couple things that we had to achieve. If you looking at that map, you can see Hall Street. We have a green line around the back of those properties. That's part of the county drain. And that is not draining very well. It's backing up. For years since I've been here, I've been getting calls from the property owner on the corner of Hall Street and Wilson. Their property is consistently flooding. And it's hard to get the water. You can't float it down Wilson because all our culverts are different heights, and they're different sizes. So we can get it through 2 driveways, and then the third one is too high and it floods. Hall Street, the culvert under Hall Street, actually has backfall. It's falling to the north instead of to the south. So we can't get all that water to flow through the way it should. So then it takes a route down Hall Street and catches a drain on those back properties. But it doesn't always get there. If there's excessive water, it floods that whole corner and creates quite a problem for the residents on that corner. So the scope of this project, we have culvert replacement at Riverbend Drive. That's where the drain is extended. After you crosses under Wilson, it goes through that private property and through the school and the church and then under Riverbend Drive. And all that pipe is undersized, so we have to upsize that to handle the flow of the water that has to go down through there. Storm sewer replacement north of Riverbend, there's a little bit of clearing. That would be south. North is the pipe that I just talked about, open channel clean out and culvert replacement along Wilson that is part of MDOT. It's MDOT right away. So we did get MDOT to cover the cost of those concrete culvert pipes along that road. And that, if they ever widen that, then those pipes are there. They can just connect into them. And then we have the clean out north of Hall and open channel clean out from Fennessy to O'Brien. And then we have raising O'Brien Street and putting in a much larger culvert under that, so it will meet the need of the amount of water it has to flow down through there. So that's pretty much what's going to be happening. There is a lot of work there, and especially when you start getting into all the pipe that we have to put in, it gets very costly very quick. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Joel Morgan, my senior engineer, and he'll go into the financial details.
I'm going to take a quick aside and just explain. County drains are sort of a weird type of public infrastructure. Most people don't think of county drains as infrastructure, but it is as much as roads, sanitary, or water main. We exist outside of any particular municipality because drains, and when it rains, that water doesn't respect municipal boundaries. And so we have a county level official who's elected to administrate a state law. We call it the Drain Code. But this is a law that's got its origins prior to Michigan even being a state. It was the Swampland Act, and then thereafter a bunch of other laws. So the basis of that law, when it comes to paying for maintenance or improvements to county drains, we don't receive any part of the regular property taxes that are levied. Instead, when we have maintenance or when we have a project, those costs are apportioned out to, as the Drain Code would say, those on the basis of benefits derived. And near universally, statewide, that is defined in the first part as the watershed of the drain. So if your property drains when it rains and enters a particular drain, then you are liable for a portion of the assessments. And so the state drain code outlines a number of other mechanisms by which we apportion out these costs. And so relevant to you and to the city is that there is what we would call an at-large assessment for public health. This is a percentage off the top that gets assessed back to municipalities for the basis of public health, welfare, and convenience. The second thing that we use to apportion off costs is what we call a 14A calculation. It's a derivative out of Act 51, which describes how money can be apportioned for roads. And this calculation helps us identify or determine a relative proportional share for road runoff to local municipalities, county road commission, and then the State Department of Transportation as well. And then we also look at special benefits. In some cases on projects, we have specific elective requests that are made that then get apportioned back out to that entity, municipality, private property owner who made that special request. It's not all the time that we do that, but sometimes we can facilitate additional work on our projects. After those items are taken right off the top, the balance of any assessment is apportioned out to the private property owners who live within that drainage district or that watershed of the drain. And in the first part, we apportion those costs based on the size of one's property as well as the land use characteristics. So for instance, someone with 10 acres generally pays more than somebody with 1 acre of land. Generally speaking, somebody with 1 acre of pavement will pay more money than somebody with 1 acre of farmland. We try to relatively balance out the contribution of runoff to a particular drain. Stipulated in the state drain code is that whenever we have an apportionment of costs, we're required to host a open house style day of review. So as Ken mentioned, we'll be sending out letters to all the property owners and entities within this district, notifying them of this day of review. That will be held on April 11, I believe. And so it's an opportunity for anybody to come. We'll send them on the letter. We will include their apportionment percentage as well as the estimated dollar amount that their assessment will be they have an opportunity to come to our office, to this day of review the assessment roll, discuss the methodology, and then out of that, if a property owner or any entity is aggrieved or feels like they've been treated unfairly, there is an opportunity for an appeal. There's two mechanisms that we handle at this day of review. One mechanism you can appeal to the circuit court, the other you can appeal to a probate court. And so we have that appeal period, and then assuming that we have no appeals on this drain assessment, we move ahead with bonding, financing. We're estimated to have our cash in hand mid-June, and we would be looking to start the construction of this project around mid-June. And so the first part of this project is from Riverbend to Wilson, crossing Hope Protestant Reformed Church's property as well as the school's property. They've asked that we complete any construction prior to school starting. School starts for them on August 26th, so our completion is a week ahead of that, and I think we have plenty of time to get that completed. And then the remainder of the construction season will continue upstream, replacing the culverts and dipping the ditch along Wilson deeper. There's a private ditch that kind of runs through not a private ditch, there's a ditch that runs northeasterly and then north to Hall. We'll be dipping that out, as well as cleaning out north of Hall Street and the other work that Ken mentioned. So there's a lot there. That's the basis of how we apportion costs, as well as our schedule. We're looking to finish this up by November 15. And I think we'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Commissioners, I do have some. Commissioner Burke, start with you.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for giving the presentation. I'm not very familiar with this, so let me ask a few questions. I think you explained it pretty well, but I find it to be an interesting process.
Very much so.
A three-person board in the county level decides this is a valid project. They decide it's beneficial for us. Then they assess us. We're paying. Our residents are paying. Does the county have any skin in this game? You decide,
No.
you decide and execute it, but you're not paying any of this project.
Correct. There's no county
That's
roads.
fascinating. That's fascinating.
Well, as an entity, the Drain Commission, like I said, we don't receive any part of the regular property taxes. We simply facilitate the law, and the mechanisms for apportionment are described therein. So I will say this, just to clarify, the three-member panel is not county employees. They're not elected officials or anything like that. They are, as we would call it, impartial property owners within the county. So they own property in the county, but not in the city of Walker. They are individuals who are familiar with public works projects. And I will say this as well, the state drain code was set up in many ways to protect a flooded minority. So the state of Michigan's history is such that in 1812, when it was originally surveyed by the U.S. government, it was deemed to be undevelopable. Now, we're here today in large part due to drainage throughout all our land. And so early on, it was recognized that drainage is really important for public health, agriculture, development, and those things. And so this drain code was set up knowing that if it was simply a majority rules law, many necessary projects may not happen. And so it was set up with this board of determination process to weigh testimony, listen to inspection reports, look into photos, and then weigh that against this criteria of, is it beneficial for public health, welfare, and convenience?
Okay, and if our residents are gonna get word about this, it seems to be very late in the game. You're already way downstream on this thing. We're basically in the ninth inning, and we're finally gonna tell the residents. And if they have a problem, their recourse is to go to court. Is that what you said?
They have all been notified already.
Well, it's, that's the process how the drain code has been established, because these county drains are not just a stream for landscape purposes that people enjoy. They are an infrastructure for managing stormwater. And that's how the law looks at it. So if these drains are not functioning properly, then we're not keeping them to the point that the law expects of us. All right? So it's not We cannot make a determination based on cost. We don't know that. We just got the cost when we got the bids. Until then, we didn't have final costs. So we cannot make a decision to do this based on cost. We can't even, by law, talk about cost at the Board of Determination. It is strictly need. Is the need there? It's infrastructure. It has to be fixed. We got to figure out how we're going to pay for it once we find out what that cost is. But up until then, we don't have cost. We just got the cost a week ago. So now it's going out. So they're getting it at the same time we are. But the whole process is set up by need, not by cost.
Okay, well, again, I'm learning the process
Yeah,
myself tonight.
yeah.
I admit that. But as you said in your briefing, apparently the state of this particular drain is such that it probably should have been worked on a heck of a long time ago.
Yeah,
Nothing has been done until
Correct.
somebody put in a petition to have something done. That's the process.
Correct.
You're not looking around the county. You don't care if the drain's bad if no one's complaining.
well, that's not true because we have been. Since I've been in, we have an asset management plan in place. We're looking at our drains proactively, trying to get them caught up.
Then why are we coming to this conclusion on 2024 when the last maintenance was done in 2020?
Well,
What's the delay there?
That was another section of the drain that was done. This was not
The
section that
2020 was the part that was done on the west side between Hall
Correct.
and Fennessy, correct?
Correct.
Okay, my misunderstanding.
Yeah.
I still don't, I've heard you say 2 or 3 different times that the letters are now just going out. They're gonna have a meeting on April 20th, and then they have to have this paid for by June something of this year?
April 11 is the day of review, that the property owners will be able to come in and discuss their assessment with us if they have questions. And the money is coming to us via bond. We'll be bonding this. And that assessment then will be placed on a 20-year pay schedule.
Okay, I did not hear that part.
I don't think we said that part.
No, well, that's,
We kind of missed that part.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
that would be very important for the
Yeah,
homeowners to
yeah.
understand that, because I certainly didn't. Thank you.
Yeah.
That will be included in the letter, that we will be bonding this over 20 years. So it's just,
Yeah.
Has there been any communication with the residents since the Board of Determination that we decided to move forward with the Board of Determination before proceeding with this cost?
That was decided that night. Anybody that showed up to the meeting had that information.
So residents who didn't attend the Board of Determination will have no idea about this assessment coming to them this next week.
We didn't send notice out after the BOD, no. Yeah, no, they
So,
won't know if
as
they
a
don't
third ward
participate.
commissioner who lives a mile away from this area,
Yeah.
I should expect a lot of phone calls then because of the lack of communication that the drain
That's-
commissioner office has had with the residents on this drain.
Well, it's not a lack of communication. We did everything we're required to do. We met all the obligations of the law. The people have a responsibility. When we sent those notices out, this is a big district. That's not a cheap endeavor. And if we're gonna keep our costs to a functional cost as close as we can, as low as we can, we're not gonna be sending notices after everything that's done. We sent the notices out. Property owners have a responsibility to respond when the drain commissioner sends them a letter. They've been notified. If
Is there
they
anywhere
choose-
on your website that indicates
It's on our
this
website
project?
as well. Everything's on the website.
So is that
If-
something that we could put out then on social media then to find
Sure.
more information more about there then?
Sure.
And maybe if we have a project like this in the future, we could get with you guys sooner to put that out on social media or put it in a newsletter so that people are aware more frequently than 2 years down the road of having this assessment coming over a 20-year period.
We can do that. Everything is on the website.
And then I have a question about the flow going through there. How much flow do you anticipate of positive drainage traveling to the south do you anticipate? And then you indicated that that culvert that goes underneath Hall Street has a negative outflow on it. But if we're replacing the culverts that go through the Hope Protestant area church and by River Bend there, why would we not consider fixing that outflow issue that's occurring at Hall Street, creating more of a backflow area on that east side of the road going to the north, as well as it travels along the ditch line that's at that corner of Hall and Wilson traveling to the east, which then, as someone who grew up on that farm right there at the corner, there's a culvert that goes underneath that ditch to that ditch line that will start further to the east flowing down. And I have never seen that pipe with so much water in it and so little flow that not taking care of that outfall issue is still gonna send all that excess water down Hall Street rather than continue it along this drain line where we're doing culvert replacement and open channel clean out from Hall Street down to Covenant Christian High School on that east side.
Yeah, so it's difficult to just demonstrate all that we're doing here, but we will be replacing the culverts under Hall Street, both west and east of Wilson. We're gonna be replacing that culvert under Hall Street, right where, under the label Hall Street, and dipping that ditch out. Now, the
Are you gonna
ditch-
be doing the ditch east and west of that?
The ditch that runs east-west is not county drain. It's just roadside ditch, so we will not be dipping that. And
But,
then,
so you will be doing that ditch that goes under my grandma's driveway then, that culvert?
yeah, yep.
And she will be assessed more than that because of that culvert being replaced there, or the same?
We assess on the basis of the size of the property and the land use characteristics. We do not assess on the basis of where construction items are relative to a property.
So there should be yellow then on this map then at the corner of Hall and Wilson and where the Hall Street sign is then.
Yeah, if you'd like, I can show you my construction drawings, but this is just a graphic.
And then how much positive flow do we anticipate coming out? Because if we just ditch it deeper, won't we have the same issue come again in 10 years or 5 years with it flowing up with just sediment filling in?
Yeah, all ditches require maintenance, and that frequency of maintenance depends on the type of soil that it's in. So the ditch line running north-south along Wilson will have less frequent maintenance. It's more of a cohesive soil. That ditch that runs in a northeasterly direction to your grandmother's driveway is 0% slope running through muck soils. And
Correct.
so there is no way to dip a muck ditch and never have to touch it again. Muck ditches, whether
Yeah.
you're in
No, I
Walker
agree.
or Sparta or whatever, you just have to maintain your muck ditches
Yeah.
somewhat frequently, actually. In our experience, we've been on one drain in the last 6 years 3 times, so that's every 2 to 3 years. And
So is that what we can anticipate then for this ditch line that's in the muck area, that this would come out in another 2 to 3 years, and then our residents would be assessed again for that?
we would likely do maintenance on that. The bonding for this project includes a contingency that would help facilitate maintenance over the lifetime of the bond. And so we would not ideally issue any assessments during the lifetime of this bond. Now, once this bond is up, if we have maintenance, then an assessment would be levied at that time. I would anticipate that to be maintenance level, not capital improvement level.
Correct.
So the funding would be a lot less.
I think that's my question.
Coming around this way, Commissioner Gilbert?
Oh, one more question, sorry. For the residents along it, is it everyone within the watershed that would get that area, so the black outline mark, or the ones that specifically drain to that drainage area?
So that black outline,
Yeah,
that is our assessment district. So that is all the properties based on the lay of the land, contours.
so some of
connection.
these are gonna have double assessment done for that project that was done in 2020 then? They'll be getting yet another assessment?
The
on it?
assessment that was levied in 2020 is over. So we levied that, I think, over 2 years, and that is,
So they just got done with it and now they're
Correct.
gonna be paying again?
Yes.
I think that's, okay.
I've not seen it. If it's been in any of our stuff and I've missed, I apologize, but I've not seen the cost of the apportionment and
Yeah.
the assessment piece. And unless we've got it for the public purview, it doesn't matter at this point. But, you know, one of the things, and I'm gonna go back to the last time that we went through this, and this is directed at the office. I'm just gonna be brutally frank. Every time you come here for some work, it is a goat rodeo. You haven't communicated on a timely basis. This has got to be $1.5 million plus, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
yeah, 1.6 million.
Great, so you're asking us in a matter of a couple weeks, expecting residents to be there, relying on the US mail service right now, which is overworked and understaffed. Are these certified letters going out, or they're just normal snail mail?
Normal letters. to the
Okay,
property.
so 50-50 chance at best that they've gotten those, on a timely basis. You know, so when it, then I just, so the timing of this, guys, this stuff has just got to stop. You keep putting this city in an awful bind. And when I look at this district, one of the first things that comes up is how many households are going to be assessed on this?
I don't remember the number off the top.
I'll
of my
get,
head.
if you can give me us a rough number, we'll work with it.
No, 400 maybe.
Okay, so out of how many that are being assessed, how many petitioned you?
I think we have 5 to 8 signatures.
So we're going to assess 400 and some people for 5 to 8 people. Help us make that make sense, because it's not.
Yeah.
To the tune of 1.7 million.
In 1956, that was law number one on the state books when we became a state. Law number one, drain code. We're still working off from that same law.
I know,
That's-
we've gone
that's
through
the
this,
way-
we've gone through this, Ken, when you come up here, and we do rely
Correct.
on the state code. We've even had somebody in here representing, I think MML or somebody had helped us out. We had a legal counsel in here providing some clarification on state law,
Correct.
on drain code. I think we all understand that. We understand the at-large for public health, and we get all this part, but gosh dang it, man, this is like a incredibly untimely, ridiculous ask. You guys got to get your dang house in
It's-
order.
Sir, we follow the structure that we're
So
required on
why
us
is the
by
rush
law.
to April? Help me out. Let's go back to the date, the timeline. Why are we in such a dang rush with this?
Well, for
You've
one-
got 400 people being assessed, a million point whatever,
Yep.
but only 5 to 8. And I know one of the 5 to 8 has since deceased. So I know that the petition is an older list, because I'm aware of who's on that list. So with that in mind, what problem are we solving here? And then the city's gonna be picking up a burden. I don't even wanna know if I wanna ask what that is. And I got a police chief and a fire chief in the back corners. They want more people on the street, as does our community. And instead, we're trying to do a fire drill of fixing a proposed problem with a drain area down here for maybe 5 to 8 people. I'm speaking, and our 2 commissioners not here tonight, I'm delivering a message that's coming from them as well. Every time the Drain Commission comes in front of this governing body, it is a last-minute, ridiculous number request.
It's the cycle that we have to follow. If you don't like how the law is written, you gotta talk to your legislator. They're the ones that can change
Or we
it.
vote for a different drain commissioner, Ken. This is
There's
you,
nothing-
it's your office.
And that's fine, but nothing's gonna change because they still have to follow the letter of the law.
So at this point,
So you're telling me you want me to ignore the petitioners that is set by law to bring a project forward? You're gonna tell me that the other work that was done on this drain over the past 3 years is not legitimate, even though these people had to pay for that? And now they have their section being corrected because it is infrastructure and it's not working properly, so by law, I have to fix it. If I don't, then I'm dereliction of my duties.
I'll acknowledge that. Timeliness of response.
Timeliness is, so we have a school that we have to meet their scheduling. We have to have that work done before school starts. There's a few pieces in this that make it a little touchy.
So what happens come April 11th? You have people that come, and there's nothing but objections other than 1 or 2 owners, and I think I know which ones they are, that come to you, and everybody else says, I'm an objection to this. What is your decision at that point?
My decision is what this process has determined. My job is to implement what I've been told to do at
So
that
what's
board.
the point of the appeal process then?
They can go to court whether if a judge deems that the process wasn't done fairly, because they're gonna be held accountable according to the way the law was written.
So then what do you need from us this evening? Why are we here? Because you're doing this anyway, and you're doing it on extremely short notice without what we would deem adequate communication, whether you want to hear that or not. The US mail is not the way, we can't do that around here anymore. We do have to go out and knock on some doors. And I realize there's 400, but there's only 5 to 8 people petitioning. You know, we've not been able to communicate this either out in social media, which is the de facto standard for communication nowadays.
So what do you recommend? You
If-
present a problem about the mail. I don't have jurisdiction, I don't have any authority over the mail. So
well,
what do you recommend?
I don't know, but you're gonna have the people come to see you on April 11th. I mean,
Yes, I
what-
probably will.
And from the city perspective, I mean, what is the city looking at for a total cost here?
I don't remember.
So there's two parts of this. Between the cities at large and benefit for their roads, which is the road runoff, that's 400,000 roughly. If we include the O'Brien Street raising, which is necessary to facilitate the replacement of the culvert under O'Brien, that's an additional 120, so 520,000.
I have a question about the O'Brien one. Does that even make sense to do at this point because of all the development we're gonna be having go to the north of there, part of that area where they're talking about, like, we just had this huge planning session a month ago, did we guys? Talking about how at some point, there's probably gonna be a road going down there. And they understand their water and the drainage issue that we have there, and I think that we all understand that that's an issue, but we also, if we're gonna spend $120,000 on this to then say in the next 10 years tear that up, what did we accomplish then? Because we have to redo it all due to the excess water that will flow there.
We're not doing this to tear it up later. When we model what size culverts we need, they're set at, what are they, 25-year? 10-year event? And that's based on the current standards on what our events are.
Yeah.
So everything is sized up because our water is coming faster at shorter intervals of time. So all that's planned for future, not planned for present.
Correct.
So when we put that in there and get that road up, that water, there is a county drain on the other side of that right now, on the north side. So that water will be able to get through instead of flooding the road or flooding the ground behind it.
So even with their developer putting their flow through there at 100-year storm, but we're only modeling to a 10-year storm?
They
yeah,
have
we
detention, they are required to put detention ponds in.
But they have to model to a 100-year storm, but you guys only model to a 10-year storm?
What do they model the ponds?
So your
to?
steady standard is to detain up to a 100-year event, right? That's your flood control event. So the release rate for that is significantly less.
Correct.
And so I've just done the modeling on a totally separate project, evaluating existing land use and proposed land use or proposed development down in Gaines. And one of the outcomes that we determined was that when you put in development and you detain it properly, your peak flows to your stream downstream are actually less.
Less.
So, provided the development is reviewed, and Scott
Yeah.
does a great job, you guys have a standard that exceeds other municipalities here, so I don't anticipate that being an issue. Now, when we did evaluate this project, we were not aware of any development in this area. What we are aware of is we have a 15-inch CMP culvert, which is
Yeah.
significantly too small. It's CMP, so I didn't put my head in it, but I'm sure it's
Yeah.
rusted
Top
out.
down.
The road is really low. We are aware that water has gone over that road, and this element of raising the road can be elective. However, when we know of a problem as a municipal entity, a governmental entity, when we know a problem exists, when we have the ability to resolve that problem, and we don't do it, and then somebody skids out or hits a patch of ice because there's water over the road, we're liable under PA 222. Now, I'm just an engineer, I'm not a lawyer, but that's my understanding of PA 222. So we are looking at this culvert placement and road raising as it's an opportunity now. It's 120,000 now. Maybe construction costs 5-10 years down the road are different, are less. That's not been my experience. And so there is an opportunity now while we have a contractor mobilized in the area at today's construction prices, knowing that we are fixing a known problem. So that was the justification for adding that piece.
All right, commissioners, we're going to get it on with our 7 o'clock regular commission meeting. We'll pick up after item number 7 on the approval of the minutes. We'll pick up discussion back on this one then. All right, it is 7:05. We'll call our regular city commission meeting to order. I'd like to invite Commissioner Gilbert to deliver the invocation, leaders, and pledge of allegiance, please.
Thank you. Shall we pray? Heavenly Father, we thank you for being here with us today as we gather to serve the people of the city of Walker. We thank you for the changing seasons and our slow and unpredictable transition to spring, and we pray that you bless the farmers and protect this year's harvest in the wake of the challenging weather this year. And tonight we ask you for the wisdom to guide us to continue to do good work on behalf of those who we're here to serve in our community. And Lord, we thank you for giving us the opportunity to represent our city and the residents, and ask that you continue to bless the city and all those in it. In your name we pray. Amen.
And I'd like to invite everybody to stand and join us for Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you all. If I could ask our deputy clerk to please call the roll.
Mayor Carey,
Present?
Commissioner Gilbert, Commissioner Chase,
Present.
Commissioner DeShane,
Present?
Commissioner Burke.
Present.
And if I could have a motion for approval and support for approve the absence of Commissioner Groders and Babcock, please.
I'll make a motion.
Commissioner DeShane,
I'll support.
Commissioner Chase. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? We are good. Thank you. Next on the list is approval of the minutes from the March 11th, 2024 City Commission meeting. Is there any discussion on said minutes? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion for approval and support, please.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Commissioner Burke?
Support.
Commissioner DeShane. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Thank you. Now let's pick back up on the Drain Commission. What is the average property owner assessment going to come out to on this over the 20 years?
I don't have the average, but the per acre cost. The total cost over 20 years for roughly 1 acre is $2,200. So that on average, or that's without interest. With interest, about $3,500 for a 1 acre lot. That's about $175 a year.
So for some of these large property owners, I just want to make sure I understand this. I've got two things. I want to go on record from all of us, and I think this is unanimous feeling. What we believe to be a lack of transparency and timeliness of this is just, it's constant. It's got to get fixed, guys. So that's from all of us. Whether you want to hear it or not, you just heard it. Secondly, there's an appeal process, but the appeal really doesn't matter because if you don't do it anyway, it's a dereliction of duty and the bids are already out. Maybe been awarded, don't know. So really this is all just for show that hey, come in and talk to us really doesn't matter because we've already started the work in the project because the state's making us do it. So something just seems disjointed there. And maybe I'm missing it. If I am,
Yeah,
I'll own it.
you're missing the step there. Project cannot move forward until all the steps have been gone through. So we can't give a cost estimate until we get the bids.
Correct.
All right, so we get the bids, cost estimate goes out, people are gonna be notified. This meeting before you today was just for information. This is not required under law, but I do work with the local municipalities when we have bigger projects. We have 5 of them going right now, and this is the smallest one of the other 5. So we have met with them, like I am with you, so you guys know that this is coming. You know what I know. I found out last Friday, you found out Monday. And the people will find out by the end of the week.
But then why are we rushing to get to April 6th? 11th, sorry.
State Drain Code stipulates that the day of review must be held between 5 and 30 days after we open bids. So we are required to have this day of review within a certain time frame. So bids were opened on March 22nd. The day of review is April 11. That's 20-some days. That's in our window. So we do have to hit that.
As well as hit the construction time to get that school and church project done before they go back into school.
Do you have any anticipation of that being in conflict with the Covenant Christian High School project that's occurring there this summer?
There's none of our work is on Covenant Christian High School's property.
Yeah.
It's all south.
Because they're planning on using the Hope Protestant School parking lot for all of their stuff because of the construction that's occurring there that we just approved at City Commission, or Planning Commission Wednesday night.
Was unaware of that, but I'll get the details and we'll coordinate it.
And guys, there's a theme here, Joel. I got to call this out. Is unaware of the development and, changes taking place in Standale. Anybody that's driven through Standale and they drive year over year through it, there's a lot of change going on. It's impossible not to notice. This goes back to, I think, the communication, the timeliness, and I'm saying on behalf of the city commission, maybe city staff, I'm not gonna put them on that spot. This is not putting our best foot forward. And you think of that term taxation without representation. Here, we're going to assess you, but you really don't have a say in it, even though we're putting up this day of purport that you're gonna be able to come in and appeal it, or you can go to the court. That takes money, it takes a lot of time, and you're already gonna be underway with the project, so it doesn't matter. So at that point, who's gonna be left paying the bills?
The project doesn't move on until everybody's had their chance. If
But what does
nobody-
the chance matter,
If
though,
nobody
if-
appeals, then we can move forward. This project started back when that petition was given to us, and we had the public hearing. Anybody could show up to that meeting and voice their opinion. I have no say in this project until that Board of Determination rules. Then they give me an order that I have to follow. I don't have any choice at that point. All that public hearing at that time, but I hear this many, many times, and people, they'll say, I hear many stories, well, I didn't know that included me. How was I supposed to know I was part of that? I don't have a drain by me. Well, the fact you got our letter tells you you're in part of this.
I think that that's a hard thing, though, to say that your Board of Determination letter still carries over to this time, because of our housing market, how many people have moved houses or sold their house or moved on? They don't know about this Board of Determination letter, and now, 2 years later, we're giving them assessment of
Yeah.
$175 for a 1 acre lot per year for the next 20 years.
I wouldn't disagree with that. That is a constant, the move in, move out, but that doesn't stop the project.
I'm not saying it has to stop the project, but I think it's going back to what the mayor said and what we all discuss, and something that we strive for in the city is like the more communication and the more transparency, so that we don't have all of these phone calls that I'm sure I'm gonna be getting phone calls in the next week about hearing about this, and I'm sure you guys are gonna be getting phone calls
yeah.
too.
And I don't disagree, and that's one of our frustrations, because how do you communicate that people are gonna listen? I can't tell you how many times people say, oh, I seen that letter come in, I threw it away, I didn't think it was important. All the time. I mean, this is consistent. We have 5 other large projects, and none of them are under $5 million. And we hear the same thing from those. And I can just do a simple $2,000, $100,000 maintenance job. I hear the same thing. I can't make people be responsible to look at their mail. I can't do that. But I do have a project of infrastructure that I have to maintain by law. That's what this position requires of me. And that's what I have to do. And I gotta expect that citizens are gonna be responsible for their part. We're gonna be responsible for our part. I use the mail because that's what's asked of us to follow, and the mail's supposed to work. I can't control the mail. I don't have any authority over that, but because the notice was put out and is documented, I am required by law to move forward. My hands are tied. I have to fulfill the law that I have to work under.
Are you required to notify the city or us, or?
You
if I
guys,
don't live
you
in that
guys
area?
get your notice registered mail. Clerk,
I was notified of that? a
Clerk
couple years
gets
ago.
that.
I live on the
One
other
does.
side of the city.
Yeah, the notice for the day of review is yet to be
Is-
given out, that's coming out.
Okay.
that'll be
Wednesday,
coming
Thursday.
shortly, yeah.
But the
that is
notice,
certified.
but the mailing you're talking about only goes to people within the immediate area of that
But the
area, right?
municipalities get a copy. Our BOD, we send copies to all the municipalities of,
But that one's only sent by
The
certified
area.
mail, none of the other ones, that's what you just said was registered mail?
no, it's just to the municipalities,
Property owners
We're
is normal
required.
snail mail.
Yeah.
Municipalities is certified.
yeah.
So at this point, I just want to make sure I'm clear, and I hate us being on an adversarial side because we do good things in this community together. I know that. That's been for centuries that, since really there was a drain commissioner in Kent County and we were Walker Township. And we were a lot more primitive in our drainage methods back then. So I want to be respectful of that the best we can, and even though I might add chipped away at that a bit tonight. We represent 25,000 people, but in this case, 2/3 ward commissioners, one who's not here, representing, 400 some people being assessed here. And that's the job that we're elected to do, just to, so our frustration is directed at the situation of just, I remember going through something back a couple years ago, just the timeliness of it, like it was rushed last minute. We had the attorney in here going through things, and I don't remember all the details, but bringing us to the point here now, we're given a less than desirable sandwich we're gonna have to take to our residents. And we're gonna hear about it the most, because we're here in the city, live here, eat here, work here, all of that. I guess my question is, on that day of review on the apportionments, if we help publicize that to make sure our residents are aware of that, they come, again, I'm gonna go back to, let's say you get 100 people in there, 98 people say, absolutely not, I'm not in favor of this. You've recorded that, you've noted that. You still have a job to do. So those 98 people really have come for nothing, or, and that's directed at the situation, not at you, Ken.
It would take a court order to stop me.
So then why
That's
do
the
we
only
even, and I
way.
get it's state law, but
can't.
and that's the part I just scratched my
I don't
head
have
on,
the
like,
authority to stop a project that's been ordered to me.
yeah.
I can't. Or then I'm gonna be charged, so.
So
That, they would have to band together and bring a court case then to stop it. It's the
Well,
only way
I
it can
guess
be
I would just
stopped.
ask then that I guess back to dialogue, in my view. This is a $500,000 bill we're getting handed on no notice. That's a substantial part of our budget. It's not something we can just plan for willy-nilly here in Walker. We don't have that kind of money in our budget to just throw around 500 grand on no notice. That's what's very, very frustrating to me, because we can't plan our future if you're throwing these kinds of things at us because, well, that's just the way it is, pay up. That's not working together as communities. And I go back to, I think back to River Ridge, where we were working on this recent project in a very different part of the city where the York Creek drain is. And we had a couple engagements asking the Drain Commission about, hey, does this really make sense? What if we have a problem downrange? How is that gonna be dealt with? And we mostly got crickets, as I understood it, from the Drain Commission. And now I'm starting to learn that if we have a problem in that area in 5 or 10 years after we build a new project, we'll just get a bill in my neighborhood.
With respect,
That's hard for me to understand.
with respect, Commissioner, you did not receive crickets. So
I-
I've been in good contact with your engineers about the River Ridge project and then other development projects. And so I guess I would acknowledge Mayor Carey's comments that we do where we can. Admittedly, this is a surprise. We have had a good working relationship. I have a tremendous respect for Scott and his staff, and we've communicated well regarding that.
Okay, that's great. If you did get in touch with Scott on River Ridge, I'd like to hear what you had to say offline. Thank you.
I guess we haven't asked our DPW director, engineer on what their thoughts are about this and positives, negatives.
Is it even at this point, is it even pertinent?
Well, I don't think it is anymore. I think once they've had the board of determination and then gotten this far, I think Ken's opinion is that he's got to move forward. I think the historical thing with this is that we did have a petition maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago from Mike Rao that that the city commission discussed, and the city commission didn't see any merit in taking on the project because it was hard to find benefit in it. With the flat grades between the Huizinga and Rao and Kelsbeek property, I think we just didn't see a justification for the expenditure. But that was when we were just talking about a couple $100,000, if I remember. And so this is much larger, it's a much bigger deal.
So like you said, once you're past that board of determination, you have 10 days to appeal, all right? If the public wants to stop it, if that board has determined it's necessary, they then give me order. And that order is put on hold until the 10-day appeal time passes. If someone wants that to stop, that's the time to stop it, because they can appeal in court and they can stop it and possibly change it. But after that is done, it doesn't matter how many times you communicate. the project's going forward. There's no stopping it.
What if the city was in a position to appeal it?
At this point, I don't think there's an appealable. There's not appealable in the statute for it to be taken up. I'm not an attorney, so I don't know, but that's based on 8 years of going through this with people. That's what I see happen.
At this point, you cannot appeal the decision of necessity from the Board of Determination. You can appeal your apportionment percentage.
Correct.
The law requires, though, that you prove malfeasance or negligence or whatever words are related to that. So at this point, it's one pie. And the appeal at the day of review is to demonstrate if somebody has been unfairly assessed relative to everybody else. If the methodology used to assess one property owner varied from another. And so you can make a case to circuit court or probate court on that basis to demonstrate or prove negligence or malfeasance. But what happens is that doesn't eliminate the total cost. The total cost is still spread over that pie. All it does is reapportion the size of each piece.
And then the court would be required to do that, not me.
So, sat through a finance committee for a couple hours Friday morning, looking at budget amendments for this year and then our upcoming budget. This is nowhere in there. So, maybe we turn around and look at two chiefs in the back room and say, guess what, guys? Or our public works director, guess what? You can't hire X amount of people this year because we've got to pull this money out of our backside unexpectedly, because this is coming out of left field and coming fast. So we got to tell them we can't hire X amount of people because we've got to deal with this.
In all due respect, this project was well made aware to the city back in January. You didn't have the total dollar amount, but neither did I till Friday.
You explain that process,
All
I
right,
respect that.
so
Yeah.
you were notified. You did know that BOD took place. You knew this project was in the process. It was made very clear, and we've been working with your people all along the way on certain decisions.
Is it
We
possible-
were very transparent with you.
Is it possible to request that board of review be reviewed again? Because it's my understanding that was a pretty quirky meeting.
I didn't think it was pretty legal, pretty normal process. No, that's not visitable
So you
at this
can't,
time.
there's nothing legally that you can do to dispute the board
Not
of...
I.
But
I don't
could the
think a
city...
judge can either, because the law's written the way it is. But I'm not an attorney, so I'm just giving you my opinion as a drain commissioner based on my experience.
Well, maybe putting a bow tie on this, because I appreciate on behalf of all of us, thank you for coming in, taking it tonight and having some discussion. But really, it sounds like the summary is this is going to go through. I'd like to ask everybody, our city managers, to make sure our communication manager at least gets this out, because if there has to be legal action from the residents, they need to show that they actually made it to the review of apportionments on April 11th. So we'll get the location and time and all that in there. I just still struggle for the record here. 400 people being assessed and 5 to 8 were the petitioners. The math just does not add up. What are we, and I'll acknowledge that there are some challenges down there in spots, but boy, I mean, just out of the blue like this, a million side, if there's one or two property owners that drove this, then we'll have a private conversation. I'll just say, hey man, you really took it to us. You took it to everybody, 400 some people. And that's not how this country was set up. It's not how our Constitution is set up. It's not how the democratic process is set up. 5 to 8 people do not make the decisions for 400 some people like that when it comes to that type of money. Not unless they're elected, like we all are, including you. So we'll take this, so won't belabor the point. We just feel like we'd be dragging you guys through the glass further tonight. So is there anything else from the Drain Commissioner's office?
Yeah, I like to make note that up and before, that was 2017, any maintenance work that was done on this drain was paid for by the city, and it's a Chapter 4. It was never assessed until that point. Because the work was so major, it had to be done, then you guys chose not to pay it. So that's when the assessment started on this district. That was when we established the boundaries at that time. Otherwise, we never even had the boundaries in place for that district. So this is new to those people. And when we start assessing for the costs on getting this drain fixed, yeah. But I have that on every drain I'm working on. So it's just part of the job, I guess.
Well, we had our discussions, and we know what we know at this point now, so we'll take these steps from here. So thank commissioners. Any other further questions? All right, good, thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yep. All right, next on the list is public comment on agenda items only. For those in the public, any of our guests, any questions, comments on agenda items? Seeing none, we'll move down. I think we've about covered the drain commission piece, Mr. City Manager.
Yeah, I think we've heard enough. But again, just from the financial perspective, we had no idea what the cost was gonna be. Sure, they were here years ago. I think Travis even attended the apportionment hearing, and it's been cricket since then as far as, I think, communication with the city. And then all of a sudden, we're gonna get hit with $550,000 of improvements. I mean, we can bond for that. We could be on the same payment plan, but that's kind of not been our MO for the last 10 years. We've been, fortunate enough to try to pay cash for projects as we go, but this one, I'm not sure. That's $500,000 that was unanticipated, so.
Are we on that 20-year bond though with them, where we don't owe that upfront?
We can be. In fact, I got a call from their finance person yesterday wanting to know how we wanted to pay for this. It's like, yeah, they were Johnny on the spot, so, I owe them a call back, and, I guess I would look for input from maybe the finance committee of how we want to tackle this. But, I mean, it sounds like we're getting assessed one way or another.
Can I just briefly comment? I think, the presentation was what it was, but the idea that the county doesn't have a fiduciary responsibility as a part of the project, and it is rather the municipality's financial obligation to maintain these county assets is pretty spectacular to me. I think that we should, wow. Let's bill them for our roads.
All right.
So I have nothing more on this.
All right,
Thank
we'll
you.
move off that then. Next on the list is consent agenda expenditures in the amount of $729,213.30. Is there any discussion on the bills? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for approval and support, please, for the expenditures.
So moved.
I'll support.
Commissioner Gilbert, Commissioner Chase, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Thank you. A little slow in the draw there. It's all good. Next on the list is resolutions. We have a couple of these. First one is 24-708. This is to approve replacing, relocating streetlights in Kinney Avenue from Lake Michigan Drive to Leonard Street. I'd like to thank our city engineer for being here tonight. I don't know if there's anything further, Scott, on this. I think we're pretty well up to speed on the process and where we're at. So anything from your further than what we have?
I would just say with this collaboration, it's pretty easy to see the benefit. We're going to have new mast arms there with left turn signals, and it's something we've been wanting for a very long time.
That's outstanding. Anything, city managers?
And also, this is a contract amendment via resolution. You see these whenever we add new for our streetlight inventory. So on the last page of 3, the top list shows that there'll be 4 center suspension high-pressure sodium lights removed, and then another one that's high-pressure sodium that's a Cobra head light. And those will all be replaced with much more efficient LED white Cobra head non-cutoffs. So the light that was put in, we've been more efficient, which will help us out on the budgeting side going forward. Because remember that we do have a line item in your general fund budget that pays the electricity bills for all these public lights. So Goes along with the road project, and I believe the road project starts tomorrow on Kinney. So this is an accessory piece. And the bill is about $17,000. I've already forwarded that to Dan. They didn't give us the bill with the packet this time. That came a few days later. And so Dan DeVries, our finance director, and Scott will work out where that money is going to come from. There's a couple of line items for that, but it's part of the project essentially.
Good.
And that's all we have.
On our, the engineering agreement for, well, actually, let's do this. We'll take these one at a time. So any other questions on Resolution 24-708? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion for approval and support, please.
I'll make a motion.
Support.
Commissioner DeShane, Commissioner Chase. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, we're good on Resolution 24-708 is passed. Thank you. Next is 24-709. We were just talking about the long overdue traffic light at left turn signal at Leonard and Wilson. Is there any questions for our city staff, city engineer from the commissioners? Seeing none, any cartwheels from commissioners? One more off the list, one after, yeah, long overdue. So, without further ado then, before I ask for entertainment for a motion for support, or approval and support, there are two signature lines on there on the agreement. I would ask if it pleases the commission, there are two signature lines to ask the city engineer and city manager to sign. I'll be out the rest of the week. Normally we capture these next couple of days. So we'll approve this signature, city manager, city engineer? Okay, good. That way I don't delay anything. All right. That being said, I'll entertain a motion for approval and support for Resolution 24-709.
Motion to approve Resolution 24-709 with the signatories as the mayor stipulated.
Do you have support? Support. Commissioner DeShane. So motion of Commissioner Burke, support from Commissioner DeShane. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Thank you all. Next on the list is Resolution 24-710. As part of the movement, the unexpected resignation of our planning commissioners. Again, thanking Mark Davey for his years and years of service. We moved somebody from the ZBA to PC, has been I'll use the term a bit of a training ground, that they get a lot of the fundamentals and the basics there. They move on to planning commission. So we have technically right now two openings for ZBA, and one of them is somebody, I've put a copy of his initial application to the Community Engagement Committee, but had spoke with Greg Gasser. He's also now on the Board of Review and has been, because of his real estate development background, has been proven to be a tremendous asset for us there. So I would ask the commission to consider his appointment to the ZBA for one of the two open spots.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Chase. Do you have support?
Support.
Commissioner Gilbert. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, thank you. Next, other public comment, agenda items or non-agenda items. If anything to say, please. Anything? Come on forward. I think that is still on.
I'll go first.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, my name is Paul Ryan. I am not a resident of the city of Walker, but I am here representing the United Veterans Council of Kent County. Serving Kent County for almost 90 years, the council is a consortium of veteran service organizations, including the American Legion, Veterans of Foreign Wars, AMVETS, and Disabled American Veterans, among others. The council promotes the interests of all American veterans by providing a vehicle for unified action in pursuit of those interests. The council has managed the Memorial Day and Veterans Day parades in downtown Grand Rapids for many years. Previously, the parade was held on May 30th, which was the traditional date for Memorial Day until 1971, when the national observance was changed to the last Monday in May, which this year is May 27th. In an attempt to increase the number of parade spectators, the council will hold this year's parade and a ceremony immediately following on Saturday, May 25th, beginning at 10 a.m. We want to give the public an opportunity at the beginning of the three-day weekend to join us in reflecting on the true meaning of Memorial Day and then to enjoy the weekend as they wish. The council is also encouraging communities, especially schools, throughout Kent County to participate in the parade and the ceremony. We want to include as many individuals, families, and organizations as possible. The council encourages residents throughout the city of Walker to join us on May 25th and invites the city to participate in the parade. For example, a city-owned vehicle would be welcomed in the parade. I would be happy to discuss further as you may desire. I have copies of a press release and 2 flyers that I would like to leave with you. Additionally, I can provide electronic copies of these documents to whomever you may direct if you would like to help us in spreading the word. Thank you.
Mr. Ryan, and I think you, if I'm not mistaken, you live in Jennison?
Say again?
You live in Jennison?
I do, sir.
Retired captain?
Yes, sir.
All right, I think I remember now. All right. I knew it when you sat down, so, was that you still do the
I do.
ESG work, so.
ESGR, Employer Support of the Garden Reserve, yes, sir.
My previous career, I had an award for supporting the veterans and the day thing, so came to my office in Kalamazoo.
Oh, yes.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. No, definitely, we will grab, right after, we're probably right at the end here, we'll grab copies of that, and then we'll make sure we get those distributed to the commission here. And you can count on the city for some support with that.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you, Captain. Captain Burke, any comments?
We did the Veterans Day event in Grand Rapids last fall together, Paul and I, and he's roped me into a lost boat ceremony in May at Muskegon. So no, great American doing great things. In fact, one of the first people I met when I moved to Grand Rapids was Captain Retired Paul Ryan at Sparrows downtown on Wealthy Street when I knew nobody. So good to see you, sir.
Yeah, that's awesome. Any other public comment? Chief, scary, nothing. All right, we'll start to the right, to our clerk's office. Madam Clerk.
So there is a third party that is sending out voter registrations to voters. We are aware of this. There's nothing we can do to stop it. So if anybody calls you guys, just let them know that it is their right to send voter registrations to households. They can just disregard it, or they can go to michigan.gov/vote to look at their voter registration, or to, even if they have to update it, they can go online and do that.
And so it starts.
So it starts.
Wow. All right. Thank you. Mr. City Engineer?
Speaking of so it starts, this is Chaos 2024 beginning today with a couple of big projects and more to come.
Saw the big boards out in Kinney this morning. Very prominent.
We're all going to need to exercise some caution, patience.
I was reading at Zenzer last week, and one of the kids had asked, what do you like about the job? Another kid asked, what don't you like? And I said, your mom and dad's yelling at me starting next week. So it comes with the territory. It'll look better when it'll be a little short-term pain, long-term gains. So, all right, good stuff. Thank you. Commissioner Gilbert?
Yeah, sorry about that.
It's all good.
Did attend the meeting that we had, community meeting for Bristol Bridge project over at Station 3. Went well. A few people came through. The one note I have is that we should consider some wayfinding signage for folks if we begin to hold meetings in the lower level. Just a little bit of, it's different than the cadence that we've gotten used to. At least it was for me. I walked right to the locked doors and got confused. So something to consider, and that's the only thing I had.
All right, cool. Thank you. Commissioner Chase?
We had PC meeting last week. Wednesday was a busy one. We had a couple administrative reviews. There's a addition coming to LaFontaine. There's an addition coming to Covenant Christian High School. We have an addition coming to Ridgeview Industries and Optimus in Walkerview. So it was a busy meeting. And then attended the Easter egg hunt, which I think went fairly well on Saturday despite the snow. I think the kids kind of enjoyed the snow. I saw a couple people brought their sleds too, so.
I attended the finance meeting on 7:30 a.m. on Friday, and
I wanted to start at 6 or 6:30.
I know you
got
did.
overruled.
I know you did. And I thought we did very, very well, although with our new, looks like we have to maybe get a little creative based on, based on tonight's meeting. And then also, I'm sorry that I did not go to the Easter egg hunt, but I had a or a baby shower for my niece, so I was unable to attend, which worked in my advantage due to the weather, so.
Thank you. Commissioner Burke?
I'm disappointed at what I learned tonight about the drain commission process, because I think we have asked for their help on the York Creek drain a couple of times, and I haven't heard anything much. So if I'm wrong there, Scott, please let me know.
I think that they did work though. Didn't they do some work on that?
And I'll hit you up and we'll get up to speed on that.
Okay, because, you know, proactive engagement on the front end of these things might help us as we move downstream into where we are now in this particular bill we're paying tonight. We should be eyes wide open on those things ahead of time and dialoguing early on all these kinds of things to avoid this. We know it's coming. And this is a big bill for us to pay. I mean, it's just a fact. And just to blithely say, oh, we don't have to care about the cost. It just it is what it is kind of unsatisfying.
Well said. Thank you. Nothing? City manager?
Just a couple things. I compliment Roxanne on making the meeting at 7:30 last Friday. And appreciate the commission's input, I think, and obviously the work that Dan DeVries does on our behalf for finances. I think he had a great presentation, we had a great discussion, and I think things are moving along in a positive direction. And we'll meet again probably another month or so with a second version, but things look very positive. So thank you for your input and guidance on that. This morning, the mayor and Frank and I attended a meeting of all the area managers and representatives from the waste energy facility, public works department down at the county. So they know our end of our contract is near on the waste energy facility, up in another year and a half. So they do have some alternatives they're working through and working with us on. So a very positive meeting. So more to follow on that. We don't have all the details, but very good meeting, first thing to start a Monday morning talking about trash. And then on our meeting schedule, you see we have a couple of upcoming meetings on April 8th and 22nd, our regular meetings, but I think on April 15th, we have a meeting scheduled with fire to talk about some strategy with the fire department. That'll probably be a 5 to 7-ish meeting. We'll probably provide a light dinner for that, so more to follow on that and agenda to follow as well, but I think that'll be a good meeting, and I know the fire department's looking forward to having some good strategic discussion with the city commission. And then I was on the MML call this afternoon, and it sounds like the speed limit bill is on the governor's desk ready to be signed, so that looks very positive, and Scott might have some of the details, but I think it allows you to round to the 5 mile an hour speed limit, and also allows for the engineering study to come into play versus just the speed study. So I don't know if you have any more on that, but it looks like it's positive.
I think we've been taking some liberties with that already to give us some flexibility with some of the policies that we've crafted. So you probably won't see a big change, but we'll be a little bit more confident in those recommendations.
Thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right. Nothing else well, I have a couple things to add, but just an extra big shout out to the Easter egg hunter, the city staff, the Parks and Rec department, our folks in City Hall, and then public safety being out there. It was a little cold for those of us that have short hair, but it really was a great time for the kids, and we got it over with fairly quickly and painlessly, I think, too, in short order, so that was good. To add on to the fire discussions are coming, there will be a survey coming out later this week yet. It'll be coming to the commissioners. It'll be probably a 4 or 5 question survey, just getting ourselves prepared for that strategic discussion of where we're at, where do we want to go, and how do we get there, and just allowing us to be better prepared. So this will be not a lecture presentation type of discussion. It's us listening to where the fire department would like us to consider going, and where the commission would like the fire department to go based on input from residents and businesses and so forth. And we'll have a facilitator doing it, is the chief of staff for a large department in the area, and somebody I've met with a number of times now, and have really looking forward to this. I think that's going to be a good meeting. And then lastly, was that last Monday, Daryl, the senior neighbors went down. Bob Bard's retired after 30-plus years of service, and boy, I wish Commissioner Groders was sitting here right now. We were through a lot with Station 2, and went through a lot together, and I know Daryl and I, conversation after conversation, working with Bob to try and get make this work, and then bring it back to the commission for your approval. And I just want to thank everybody, but they had a little retirement going away party, so I brought some recognition on behalf of the city to him, and it was good, and received a nice note the next day that just said thank you for coming. And what, sometimes it's not so much the destination you've gotten to, it's the journey that you've taken, and the twists and turns that it has, and I'm kind of paraphrasing words there. So it was good to hear from him, and I wish him the best. I don't think he's going to be sitting retired very long, but wish him the best, and thank him for all the years of working with the city. Outside of that, I don't think I had anything else. Invite will be coming, if I could ask our clerk's office for the April 15th meeting, 5 to 7. And then, again, we'll have a little working dinner here, obviously public meeting, because we'll have a quorum, so we'll have the doors open and everything for that, and public is encouraged to attend if they wish. So, and if we do have a public meeting, the public has the option of providing public input. So that's that. Anything else? Go to the order? All right. Entertain a motion for approval to adjourn and look for support.
Motion to adjourn.
Commissioner Gilbert.
Support.
Commissioner Chase. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, we're adjourned. Thank you.